Hey everybody, my name is Jim Dietlow. I am the owner here of JED TV and WJOB Radio in Hammond, Indiana. And we record this podcast live on the air. It started as a show and it has migrated into a podcast. And Adriana Alvarez, this is her student project at Purdue Northwest, where we are on the campus. And where would they be able to get this podcast, Adriana? And can you get that? Can you get all set over here and settle down over here? What are you doing? I know you're paying the bill and everything. Yeah. Just slow down, okay? But
so
you know, fidgeting.
I can't hear nothing.
Oh wait, you want a different one?
Nope, hold on.
Yeah,
there it is.
Better?
There you go.
There we are. Okay. So this is why we do them recorded instead of live.
But this is a live podcast. And where can you get the Calumet
broadcast.
Painting and Restoration podcast?
Yep, so you can get this podcast anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, anywhere that you see those, as well as you can see these on our YouTube. We are live on YouTube as well. You can see us at WJLB 1230 on YouTube, and these will be streaming live, and later on, before noon, we have our podcast posted. So that way you can get them either audio and or video.
And if you want a podcast, all you got to do is get a hold of Adriana with two N's at WJOB1230.com. A lot of people like these. I mean, a lot of them started as shows and have migrated to a podcast. This podcast is sponsored and is about Calumet Painting. It used to be just Calumet Painting. Now it's Calumet Painting and Restoration. And introduce yourself, sir.
My name is Rick Suarez, president of Calumet Painting and Restoration.
And is that where you started? Is that you've always been a painter, or did you have another job at one point?
I was a fireman for 30 years, and actually I started my paint business when I started on the fire department, because you know the schedule at the fire department is 24 on, 48 off, so it gives you an opportunity. Well, it gives you an opportunity, but really when I started, it was it was almost necessary to get a second income because we weren't getting paid that much money. It really improved now. Which is good because, sometimes when you're working 24, you get off the next day, you don't feel like going to work again somewhere else. But it was great. Yeah, great job. Miss it actually.
Calumet Painting and Restoration here, and we're recording on the campus of Purdue Northwest in Hammond, Indiana. Actually, Calumet Painting is right around the corner on Columbia Avenue in Hammond, and they recently got the Best of the Region, which is quite an honor. You've had it how many years in a row now?
It's the fourth year in a row we won it. That's all. That's really the majority of that is from my workers, my painters. They do an excellent job. If you are fortunate enough to hire us, I shouldn't say it that way, but if you hire us, you'll see what we're talking about. They're very, very methodical and meticulous about their work.
And I think even doing this podcast is kind of indicative. I didn't really know you. I'd seen you before, and then you're like, "Hey, I want to tell our story, and I want to, tell people about, what, some of the things they should be looking out for."
Sure.
And I think just by doing that, a business is showing that they want to tell their story and not afraid to tell their story.
Yeah.
I mean, some people are like, man, I don't want to go on, I don't want a bunch of people complaining about my business or whatever.
Yeah.
You showed none of that fear.
Yeah. Well, we're not perfect. We strive for 100% customer satisfaction. Have we achieved it? No, not really, but we got pretty close to it. There's always somebody out there that's not going to be happy with your work, or sometimes we do everything we can to fix it. Let's put it that way at the end, So we take steps actually when we're out looking at a job, what we call a measure call. Just like the contractor or the customer is sizing up the contractor, we size up the customer as well. And then we make a decision also whether we are going to accept the customer or not. We have the right.
Well, sometimes you just could tell it's not a good fit.
Not a good fit, right?
And you may have even dealt with them before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, God rest her soul, my Dutch grandmother. I'm not altogether sure I would refer her to you because nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, she would hire the contractors at her home in Florida once they moved down there.
Yeah.
And, a lot of the guys would not do the work because it just nothing was good enough. And every once in a while you run into that. A lot of times it's old school people who may have been burned in the past, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you understand it, but it's not necessarily a good fit with your business that needs to make money and move on, right?
Right. And it's not fair sometimes to my employees also. They get real nitpicky with them and they want to get the job done right, and they take it to heart sometimes, and so it's just sometimes it's better just to just shake hands and say, hey, you know what, unfortunately it's not going to work for us at this time, and just move on from there.
So that is one of the things we wanted to talk about today is you're sitting there, everybody's got work they need done in some way or another, and then you're going to, I would say, I wonder what the percentage in the next 5 years, I would say it's well over 50% of people listening and watching are going to be in the market to make some sort of upgrade to their home.
Oh, yeah. I would think it's more than 50%. I would think everybody's, I said it's like, in the next 5 years, I would say probably, I would think it's like 80% in some type of work. I'm not saying painting work, but either windows or some kind of repairs, and not only repairs but upgrades. Sometimes people start watching them shows and they want to do an upgrade or fix the basement up, or their family gets bigger or the family gets smaller. It all changes. And then sometimes I'm not picking on women here, but they're really, really particular about colors, and so sometimes they buy new furniture or rugs or whatever, and that changes the whole look of their house, and so they want to change the color of the walls. And you spend a lot of time in the house, so you want to make it look comfortable for yourself.
And certainly the exterior painting is an issue here in the Midwest. I mean, I listened to a podcast called Crime Junkie, and she records it out of Indianapolis, and one other woman's from Elkhart, I think. It's one of the top podcasts in the world. But they talk a lot about the rough weather of Indiana, especially northern Indiana and the snow belt, and what it does to their cars and their tires and their houses always having to be repainted. So you're in the business of repainting trim and actual siding and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It never stops.
No, it never stops. Yeah, and that holds true also of like siding contractors. They got to really be particular about, and the roofers also, paying particular, attention to certain details that are going to protect their work and their customers' home, and then also give the work longevity, because after all, some of these things are very expensive to do. So like if it's a pain in the rear to do it now, you don't want to have to do it again for 10 or 15 years, whatever it may be, So a lot of it, that comes down to prep work, and those are the things we talk about when we first meet the customer about, what kind of job. I mean, we only take certain jobs, like if the customer is going to ask us to do kind of the wrong thing, like just paint over that rust. We don't really care, just paint over it. Yeah, we're just kind of, well, I don't think this is a job for us,
Well, you also, I mean, you're the best of the region. You have a brand and a workmanship that you have to live up to. We do that here. It's like, that's kind of off-brand, and it's not helping us. It's not the quality we want.
Sure.
You've got the same thing. So let's go on to the main topic today. And is, when you're looking to hire a contractor, what are you looking for? Vetting a contractor helps ensure a smooth and successful project. You're not embarrassing them, or you're not showing lack of faith by going through some of these steps. Let's take them one at a time. Let's talk about licensing and insurance. Bob with a pickup truck, he might be able to do it a little cheaper and get on your roof.
Well, that's Chuck in the truck.
Chuck in the truck. That's where
Chuck
you
in the truck.
Yeah.
Dan's in the van. Okay, Mike's on the bike. And then you don't want Dale that just come out of jail, show up at your house either. So those are the four we try to stay away from, But really, you got to remember that most homeowners are teachers or other professions. They're not really general contractors. So it's a lot. They don't do this all the time, So that's why a lot of times it's, from our side, it's better to ask the questions. We tell them, these are the questions you should be asking us. And we go over a whole series of them. You hit some there. Like, is the contractor licensed? Is there a permit required? A lot of times they are, like if we're putting windows in.
Well, let's talk about the insurance.
Yeah.
It's not just, are they insured for like bad work and
or damage to your house.
You also have liability insurance if somebody falls off your roof that was up there doing something. And then they got to have workers' comp.
Well, that's a key one right there. You hit it right on the head. Like, if you hire, I never talk bad about other contractors. I let our work, talk for itself. So, I could throw some names out of there. There's some, painting, what should I say, franchises, I guess. So if it's a franchise, a lot of times it's just the one guy that owns the franchise. He goes out and sells the paint job, and then he hires subs to come in. So when you do it that way, you have to make sure that each one of those subs has their own workman's comp, or they have a waiver of liability, that they're going to waiver the right to workman's comp. Homeowners insurance, now I'm not an insurance person, maybe somebody out there listening is, but homeowners insurance typically does not insure you if you hire a contractor and you get hurt on your property. It's your responsibility to have taken that step to make sure that.
So you guys listening to that, Adriana, can you bump his mic just a little bit, a tiny bit? It seems like Suarez starts to whisper halfway through the show. I don't know what that's all about. We've tested the levels, and all of a sudden he's like we're sitting in the back of a plane and we're trying to talk quietly. But so that's a big factor. I mean,
huge.
What you just said is that your homeowner insurance, if you hire Chuck in a truck and Chuck falls and then sues you, your homeowner's insurance is going to go, hey, dude, did you check and see if he had liability? And you're like, well, no, I didn't. And so there you go. Now you got a big problem on your hands. Now, many of you should really, actually, to talk insurance, you might want to have a personal liability line of something, and that's separate, especially if you have a lot of assets. But you're much better off getting somebody who's insured. Now, are you guys fully insured?
Yeah, we're surely insured, and then we're bonded, through the county. And I think there's somebody out there might correct me on this, but I'm pretty sure the bonding kind of, holds the contractor to certain certain things, like if they damage the street, let's say they dump paint on the street. Well, that doesn't belong to the homeowner, but it belongs to the municipality, so they have a way of coming back after the contractor that way. So that's why they always Require you to be bonding. Lake County has a unified bond, so you only really need one bond in the county to cover all the cities.
So they have unified bonding, but they don't have unified permitting.
They do not. You have to go to each town for a permit. If you're doing structural work like windows, every town's a little different, I think, but so most of the time, like if you're going to do windows or you're doing siding and stuff like that, if you leave it up to the contractor, they'll get the permit, and then you just charge you what that charges, because it takes some work to get, and it costs some money, so.
So, you're sitting there and you're looking, well, I want to get this job done. I want to get my let's just use exterior painting, which is kind of was your bread and butter, but you certainly moved on to bathrooms and interior and all that stuff. But one of the things that, like when I go to a restaurant, most of these restaurants that advertise here, you go to Doc's and there's Brent Brazier standing there. You go over here to Town Club and there's Mark Hines standing there. You go over to Langle's and you might not see Rodney there too much, but he's once in a while.
You go there on Wednesdays, he's there.
Yeah, he's there. And, so that the quality is going to be there because they're there and they're overseeing the project.
Yeah.
Now, when they're hiring you or hiring a contractor, you also have to ask about project management. Who's actually overseeing the project?
Yeah. Well, we do it in a couple of different ways. I have a couple salespeople that sell for me. So typically the salesperson goes out, sells the job, and it brings it back to us, and we go over it we have weekly meetings, foreman meetings. We go over we pick a team leader or a foreman that's been working. All of our foremen are long-term employees. I have people that have worked for me for 30 years, so they know how to do the work. All we got to do is basically go over it with them. If it's a little bit complicated or they're not sure about something, the salesperson goes back out with them, and he basically goes over the job. Then we hand it off to the foreman. The foreman meets the homeowner, and then they take the job from there. I only get involved in it if it's something over the top that's really complicated. I'm usually out doing radio shows and stuff like that, so I don't
call it a radio show, dude. This is a podcast now. All right,
okay.
We had the meeting. We didn't even charge you extra for it, man. So just stop. It's a podcast.
Okay.
All right, because this is going to play later,
I know.
and people got to know.
Right.
Well, you know what? We're thinking of doing some work. Let's go listen to that guy at Calumet Painting. He's got a lot of nice tips, right? So one of the other tips is that you got to kind of know the scope of the work,
right?
And what the timeline's going to be.
Yeah.
And then there's one major question that you have to ask it from my point.
Yeah.
Is this an estimate or is it a fixed cost?
That brings me into what I think is the most important question. Very similar to yours. It's how do we phrase it? What do you want us to do about unforeseen and unknown extra costs? Because we could say it's $3,000 to paint your house, but what if we get up there and all the paint starts falling off because all the wood is rotted behind it? How do you want to handle that? That's the question you should ask. Like, how are we going to handle that? Like you as a customer to the contractor, how are we going to handle that? Or like if you're doing a roof, and they say we're going to peel the whole roof off and then refelt it and do the whole thing, shingles. That's all great, $10,000 or whatever it is. But what if you go up there and you take that off and there's rotted wood underneath it? How are we going to handle that? Or is that included in the price? It ain't going to be included in the price, I'll tell you right now, because the contractor can't price what he can't see. And so we can't see it until we get up there. So that's the most important question to me, that the contractor tell you or give you an idea. Like if let's go in the attic maybe on a house like that. Let's see if we can see rotted wood back there. I can say probably not, there's probably not going to be no rotted wood up in that roof. But when we get up there, if we get to it, it's going to be so much per square foot. I'll give you a pretty good idea what the cost would be. At least you know that. So last thing you don't want a surprise in the middle of a job when you're already paying $10,000. All of a sudden he comes on the roof. It's all rotted up there. It's another $5,000. Now it's $15,000. That's what you're trying to avoid, right?
So finally, this is the part that some people are a little bit reluctant to do.
Yeah.
But certainly it's part of the game, and people expect it. And that is, hey man, what are your references?
Yeah.
I mean, certainly you can go look on yours is best of the region.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of comments under your best of the region.
Yeah.
You can go on to Yelp, you can go on to Google, and you
Sure.
can get the reviews of your work.
Yeah.
That is one way, but sometimes people just want to talk to someone.
Yep. Yeah, and we can give references that way. We have a lot of we have lots of raving fans that are really, really happy to talk about our work. But you can also just on outside exterior is a little bit easier because you can actually drive by and look at the work. Actually, a lot of our work comes from the neighbors of the houses that we're painting because they see the guys out there every day. They see what their prep work is, and so it's kind of south at south. They walk up and they ask my guys, hey, would you mind giving me a price for doing my house? And then so I come out or one of my other guys comes out and looks at it, and we just go from there. Yeah, we get a ton of work that way.
We're talking to Rick Suarez of Calumet Painting and Restoration. If you're catching this podcast on Apple, Spotify, anywhere else, or you're listening at another time in WJOB or watching it on JED TV, or you can catch it on YouTube also. We've expanded our distribution here. If you want to do your own profile of your business and what you're up to, and you want to tell your own story, all you got to do is get a hold of Adriana, ADRIANNA, at WJOB1230.com. We are recording this in the middle of a hot streak.
Yeah.
And it has been the longest hot that I can remember, even going back to childhood. And it's continuing, and it's projected to continue. I mean, there's a lot of people that their houses are taking a beating. They're spending a lot of time indoors, and today's you can't even breathe the air. You're not supposed to go out to Canadian wildfires. But there are certain times of the year that are more apt. And like my wife wants me to talk to you about redoing our bathroom, and I'm like, no, we're doing it in his off time. She goes, oh, well, I want to do one a year for the next 4 years.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, well, we'll do that. We'll work something out with them.
Sure.
But we're doing it at exactly slowest time.
Yeah.
This is not your slow time.
No, it's a really, really busy time. We do a lot of work for condo associations, so they have multiple buildings, so we, it really stretches our manpower out. So really, it's always better, like your kind of work inside, to get a hold of us, and then it just be open about your schedule when you want us there. And if you wait until, I think it's after November the 1st, we give really, really nice discounts because we work hard to keep our guys working. And so we're willing to discount that work in the wintertime. So that for you, anywhere between November 1st and I would say the end of March, there's 5 months there. You got a lot of time to pick there.
Well, first of all, I'm going to get the JED WJOB price, and you're not. But the other thing is that I just want to bring that up when you are hiring. Like, I want to hire you when my wife works for the government when she's on vacation.
Yeah.
I know you. I don't feel like I would have to be there. And my brother-in-law, Mark Forright, would just come around and check on the work.
Sure.
But you're also finally looking at timing of hiring this contractor.
Yeah.
And like I'm saying, we're not in any hurry,
Yeah.
but I want to get a new bathroom. I know what you do, and it used to be called one-day baths, but it's really kind of a two-day process.
Two-day process. Yeah.
But it's very simple, and I like what you've shown.
Yeah.
What do you say to people that are like, oh man, all of a sudden they wake up and they're like, I need my house painted. I mean, really, it would be nice, or I want that bathroom now. My wife can't stand it. I'm tired of listening to it.
Yeah.
What do you say to them?
Well, I mean, I open up my phone and I go like that, and I see all of those red lines in there. Those are all jobs that we have, and it's bright red till the end of September right now. I couldn't squeeze it in if I wanted to. There's some times where we get done quicker than we have rain days and stuff, all plugged in there. So there's sometimes things will open up and we get lucky, and we'll say we'll keep in mind if we can get you in sooner. But any contractor, and there's a lot of them, I hope some are out there listening. They're really good contractors. They do great work in all different kind of fields. All those guys are typically booked up, I would say 4 to 8 weeks all the time. So you got to be patient. If you want it done right, you want a good contractor, you could get lucky maybe and get them there sooner, but chances are you're going to have to wait a minimum of 4 weeks for anybody that's any good.
Well, that is the final part of that is you got a plan, and Rick has been coming on and doing this podcast.
Yep.
Well, now it's a podcast, but he's been coming on and doing this show for a while, and I think that's a general message. And if any message has gotten out with you doing this show and kind of setting the standard for other businesses that are now asking us, believe it or not, in other fields, well, maybe I should get on there and do one once a month and tell my story. But if there is one message, it is that plan. I mean, I know what Rick's discounts are in the winter because he doesn't want to have to lay his guys off.
Right.
So he'll cut into his profit margin. If you want to come in and do a bathroom right now, I mean, it's the middle of summer year. It's the wrong time to do that. Yeah. So let's just review. Yeah. Certainly, if you're going to hire a contractor, you want to ask about licensing, insurance. Bonding, that kind of stuff. The project management, who's going to be out there, what's the timeline, what are what is the scope of work would be the third thing, and what are you going to do about unforeseen circumstances. And then you definitely got to check references. And then any of the other stuff. To me personally, a big one that Rick has put out there is check the timeline of actually hiring this person.
Well, one last one. You might want to find out what is required to schedule the job. Like if you're going to need a deposit. I know people are afraid of that sometimes. I would be cautious about it. That's why you got to trust the guy. You got to get to the point where you can trust him. To me, it's we require a third down, but I'm going to say this publicly. It's not a deal breaker for me. Like if you tell me there's no way I got ripped off, and you tell me what I feel is the truth, that you're very leery about giving a contractor a deposit, I'll work with you on it. It'll be something like when we show up the first day with all the paint, then I'm gonna want my deposit that day. Stuff like that. If it makes you feel better. I'm just trying to get to the point where the customer feels comfortable that they're not going to get ripped off, because there's a lot of ugly stories out there about people getting ripped off, and I understand it. Well, I'm on the other side. I'm on the other side of it a lot of time. I'm on the other side of the table, hiring a contractor, so I kind of feel what they feel.
So I mean, part of that is that we're on a recording this podcast on a 101-year-old radio station. We just had an incident where somebody was ill, and a bunch of listeners ran to the aid. I mean, we're a big happy family here. Suarez is right around the corner, and it's kind of an extension of that, and that makes it a little easier to trust the guy, even if you don't know him. I wouldn't say necessarily, knowing a lot of firemen around here, that I would, I would look into some of their reputations. Especially, there's been a fireman who's been in town, and I have not gotten together with.
You haven't got with
I haven't gotten with them.
Okay.
And part of it is my wife's like, I see Stanik's in town. Aren't you going to get with him? I go, man, I am at a part of my life where I'm working 55 hours. Yeah. A Steve Stanik evening is going to cut into that work week considerably. Yeah. But it's good people, and you're talking about a fireman here. But hey, you want to know how to hire a contractor? Just re-listen to this podcast. Yeah. And he's Rick Suarez. All you got to do is go to calumetpainting.com and just check out what they're all about. They're paying for this podcast. And anything else?
If you're looking for all the things that we just talked about, if you're looking at any work that you may be thinking about doing, give us a call. And, like he was saying about the scheduling, you were saying about the scheduling, very important. Get us out there soon. 219-844-7501. We'll set it up. And if you want me to go out there, I'll go out there. I have other people that can go out there. They're very confident about their work. So just give us a call, 219-844-7501.
There it is. Until next time, see you later.